everyone. It's been a while, so happy belated New Year to everyone. It's it's been a bit of a difficult month. I always struggle with January anyways because it's so cold and dark and gray, and it's just I find January's like every year it's the hardest month for me to get through, but I almost got through it. How I don't know. Um, but yeah, I'm like excited to be back and like making new videos. So today's video, so basically I watched Kellyanne Maddox's video. She did like a VR to Katie Flowers no disclaimers tag, which I also want to do. But just a few of the things she was talking about got me thinking about how I buy decks, like what my criteria is, and I thought it would be really cool to like really narrow down what I want to like, so I can basically consciously buy things rather than just buying things spur of the moment. Like if I have an actual checklist of things I want or don't want in my decks, then I can refer to that list and see like, oh, this shiny new deck that everyone's talking about that I want, does it tick all the boxes? And if so, do I still want to buy it or not? So yeah, like the video just made me really think that it would be good to have a set criteria this year and like in the coming years. I feel like I have like a fairly large, well, not compared to a lot of people, but like I have a lot of tarot decks because I use it a lot and I like changing it up and having different options depending on my mood. So yeah, I just wanted to narrow down my own criteria, and I thought it'd be interesting to share with you guys to see if any of you guys have your own criteria, like what you think of my criteria, that kind of thing. So I basically wrote down like 3 things that will stop me from buying a deck this year and going forward. So the first one is if it's a pip deck. And I know pip decks are quite controversial. A lot of people love them, a lot of people hate them. I really like pip decks. Some of my favorite decks are pip decks, so I have nothing against them. It's just I have so many, I think because I'm so drawn to the simplicity of it, that I just don't need any more in my collection, no matter how beautiful the artwork is. It's like I have enough cards that just have swords on it or wands, beautifully illustrated. Like they're not adding anything to my collection right now. Well, I mean, like if I were to buy a new one, it wouldn't be adding anything to my collection. So I feel like it's important to think, what value does this bring? That's kind of the heart of what this criteria is based on. So yeah, no more pip decks. I love the pip decks I have, but that's enough. The second thing is what people call RWS clones. And I don't know, I feel like calling something a clone is a bit mean. So I don't really like, I don't know, RWS inspired is my preferred term. But yeah, if it's just literally like the entire deck is just redrawn like RWS imagery, even if it's diverse and has representation, like I also have enough of those, like where it's just RWS imagery, like, you know, the 3 of swords is always the heart with the 3 swords in it, or the 7 of swords is always the guy looking behind him carrying his swords, and like, you know, 3 of cups are like 3 women dancing holding up cups. Like if that is like the extent of the representation in the cards and it doesn't go beyond it in any way, I'm just like not interested in it anymore. And that's not because I don't love it, because I do. Like I use my Modern Witch deck, which is like one of my favorite decks. It's amazing. And that's because like I don't really connect with like the really weird old medieval RWS imagery. So I like using that because I still know the meanings, but like they're nicer to look at for me, and it helps me like bring it back to today's world. So yeah, that's my second criteria. And the no, that was second. The third one is the Pregnant Empress. I just feel like if I see one more Pregnant Empress, I'm gonna lose my mind. I'm just so sick of it. There's so many ways you can depict, and I've said it before, like in one of my other videos, in the Tarot Vlogmas videos, it's like if you can't be bothered thinking of creation in any other way other than a pregnant person, I'm just not interested in it. Like, as a creative person, I find it really demoralizing that like creativity is never explored in any other way other than like birthing a child. It's like, why don't we ever see an empress like, you know, in a garden or creating art or just something different? So that's like, I realize I really hate it, and I have lots of decks with it in, and I'm just like, you know what, I'm not going to give my money to like creators or publishing houses that continue to perpetuate this like really narrow notion of what creation and creativity can be. So unfortunately that means that, you know, there's a lot of decks that I really wanted the Good Karma deck, and I've seen a couple of flip throughs and it looks really fun. I even bought it for my niece for Christmas and she loved it. But again, the Pregnant Empress, it's like, no, we need to move the imagery forward, people. Like, I'm just, no. So that's all the stuff I don't want in a tarot deck. So it's like, what will make me buy a tarot deck this year? There's only a couple that I actually am actively like waiting for. There's one, I can't say the word because it's like a very bad swear word, but it's the Cosmic Something tarot, and I think it's by Samantha West, the same artist who does the Macabre tarot. And it looks really cool. It looks like quite unique. It's like alien themed. So I'm like super excited about that. But actually, I think I'll probably do another video talking about the things I'm excited for, because there's actually loads of Oracle decks that I'm actually excited about this year. But yeah, so things that will make me want to buy a tarot deck this year and going forward. Interesting interpretations. So basically this is like the flip side of the RWS inspired ones. Like, I brought this as an example. So this is the Transient Light Tarot by Ari Weisner, and they're a British creator, so it's quite cool because there's not really that many British people making tarot decks, so it's nice to support someone local if I can. And so all of their decks are gender neutral, which is a thing I really, really enjoy. So like all of the cards, not just the core cards, are genderless. So I took some out to show examples. So this is the Nurturer. The Hierophant has been changed to the Proclaimer, which is really cool. High Priestess is now the Revealer. And Emperor, I think, is now the Defender. And I just really like those because in their essence, they have the same energy as the original cards, but they're gender neutral. So it doesn't, because obviously there's masculine and feminine energies in all of us. So I'm not trying to say like erase any gendered stuff, but when something is so gendered, it makes it difficult to connect to if you're perhaps a non-binary person. So I'm really like, I love seeing different interpretations. Like for cards, it makes me excited. It makes me want to buy a deck to see, like, do I vibe with their interpretation of it? It just makes me excited that like someone's thought of like, you know, 78 different not different interpretations, but different ways to represent those interpretations. That's what I feel like is really artistic and creative, and that's like what I want to be supporting and giving my money to. and so this is the second thing, is what Kelly Maddox was talking about in her video. And she was talking about a deck that she bought that she loved, but it had absolutely no representation. It was, to borrow a term from Black Twitter, it was pale, male, and stale. So it was like she loved the deck, but she was just like, I don't need any more decks like this. And I feel like I'm the same way. I don't tend to go for historical decks anyway for the most part because of the lack of representation, but I want to see like different skin tones, different nationalities represented, different body types, different abilities, like, you know, gender neutral or like non-binary, you know, representation, LGBTQ plus, like all of that, because that's the world that I live in and that's the world that represents my friends and like family, that kind of thing. Like that's the world I live in, so I want to see my world represented in tarot, which is I think why I don't actually like historical decks that much, even though like I did art history as my degree and I love historical art. I feel like for tarot, in order to use it in the present day, I need it to reflect my present day. So yeah, I'm kind of over buying things that have no diversity, no representation, like just really kind of, yeah, I'm just over it really. And the complete side note, I don't know if you guys know, so Matt Hughes did the Ethereal Visions tarot, and I bought it because of the gold gilding. I'm not gonna lie, already mentioned that I'm like a super magpie. But I saw that, so that was mass market, and he's now released an indie deck that's like the Luna version of it, but it's basically, it has loads more body representation, like different skin tones, races, nationalities. It's diverse in the way that like the mass market deck isn't. And I'm just really annoyed because it's like you could have done that with the mass market, and like I don't even use that deck that often because I find it really like it is historical, like I get it, and it's my own fault for buying it because of the gold, but I just can't connect to it. Whereas like it's the same imagery but made more diverse in the new deck, and I'm like, why did you have to wait? Why couldn't you do that the first time? And it just, I don't know, like not to like hate on anyone, but it feels like a cash grab. Like why couldn't you make it more diverse? Because I know that that was an indie deck first and then it got picked up mass market, so it's like, I don't know, whatever. Probably shouldn't be talking about this because I don't know. I don't want to like get in trouble or come across as a mean girl. But yeah, so this is a very long video for me. But yeah, so all of this is to say that this is like these things that I've talked about are my criteria for buying decks going forward, because I just feel like I have enough decks now that I need a deck that's going to wow me in ways that I've not been wowed before in order to make me want to buy it, because I don't just want to be buying like loads of similar decks. Or yeah, I don't really want to be doing the thing where I buy something because it's like really aesthetically beautiful, but it's not actually usable because of my own like internal criteria that I've never vocalized. So now that I've vocalized it, I have a little, you know, mental checklist, and I'm going to be using that to see, yeah, what's going to work for me and what's not. So hope you're all doing well, and I'll see you in the next video.